All right, what's up guys? Zach here, and I want to share with you how to A/B split test your emails. This is a Klaviyo tutorial for direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands. Let's dive in. So what do you need to split test? Overall, biggest thing that I need to talk about here is that big changes are going to yield big results and little changes are going to yield little results. So you always want to split test big changes. So what does big changes mean? It's going to mean big things like the offer could be $20 off versus 20% off, structure in your flows, so time delays, order of the emails, could be campaigns, sending time and dates, things like that. So things like fonts are not going to change the impact and the outcome of your A/B test. Colors of the buttons not going to leave a huge impact. Two images that are nearly the same. If you try to split test those, it's not going to be that different. So I have an example. If you have product shot A, kind of a lifestyle shot, also product shot B, a lifestyle shot, is not going to make that much of a difference. And design below the fold, I would not count that as a massive change. Things that would be are going to be things, as I said before, campaigns, sending date and time, content of the email. So the overall angle, is this more sales focused versus value focused? Is it touching on pain point A or pain point B? Or what about benefit A versus benefit B? Or is it more focused on benefits versus features? Plain text versus design, that's a great one. Long email with lots of copy versus short email, products that we're featuring, etc. Subject lines, first name versus not, and then design specifically above the fold, that whole area and structure, things like adding a CTA at the top and GIF versus no GIF. These are all big changes. Same thing with preview text as well. So number one, as I said, we need to change big aspects to see drastic results. What are we measuring in order of importance? Number one is going to be revenue. For pop-ups, it's going to be conversion rate, but number one overall, we want to look at how much revenue is this email actually driving. Number two is going to be either click rate or click-through rate. I gave the definitions here. They're almost the exact same thing. And then number three is open rates. So for split testing subject lines or preview text or the sender name or the send time, day of week, or weekdays versus weekdays, this is going to be our winning metric. It's not going to be preferred, but sometimes if you're split testing things like the subject line, that's the only thing it's going to actually influence is the open rate. A lot of times what happens is you get worse open and click rates, but you generate more revenue. So it's kind of weird like that. So at the end of the day, we only care about revenue. Next principle we always want to follow is testing one thing at a time. So we don't want to change a bunch of things like the subject line and the body copy and adding this GIF over here. You don't know what actually made the difference. It could just be one thing. You want it to be just one thing. So, and it could be a big thing. It could be long email with lots of copy versus short email with little copy, but you want to look at one variable at a time. Split testing, it's going to take extra time and bandwidth, so don't overdo it. That's why you want to split test the most important variables, and that's why it's way more important for bigger brands that are doing a couple hundred grand per month and sending to 100K or more people at a time. For smaller brands, it's not going to make that much of a difference, and it's not worth creating two emails essentially just for one split test. Make sure you have statistical significance. Klaviyo is going to tell you it's based on two things. Number one, have we sent enough emails? And number two, are the results between the two variants big enough? And are they different enough? So as you can see here, this is an example of split testing a 6-second versus 12-second delay. And as you can see, this one, both of them have seen a couple thousand eligible unique visitors, and you can see there's a couple hundred unique submits for each. And this is how the graph is going to look. The rate is going to change over time, and it's going to be variable. And you can see there's about a 0.10% difference between the two submit rates. So it's not massive. And that's why here there's only a 66% win probability, and that's not statistically significant because the difference between the two is not big enough. There's only, they're right about the same. So it looks like in this case, it's not actually going to be that much of a difference whether it's a 6 or 12-second delay. So we would just go back to the drawing board at this point. Record the results. So what we do this is in Airtable. Our Klaviyo tech is a person that's primarily in charge of recording these split tests and including them in the monthly and weekly report. And so the fields that we actually record are going to be the name of the split test. You want to make this unique, and you want to know what you're actually split testing. You want to know what are you actually split testing. So is it a pop-up, a flow, or a campaign? You want to know who the client is, of course. You want to know the description of the split test. So write a short couple sentences, one or two maybe, about what you're actually testing. You want to have a start date and end dates, and then you want to have the results of the split test. You want to have this essentially over time. You want to be able to record this. All right, so pop-ups. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper. Pop-up is the number one most important thing to split test in my book, just because it's so easy. And if people are not getting through the pop-up, if that's a massive bottleneck, you can't send emails to them. So that's why they're more important than flows and more important than campaigns. So the split test for pop-ups from most important to least important are going to be offer, then the targeting, then things like adding benefits and trust icons, adding a countdown timer, having an image versus no image, and number of fields that you ask for. That'll be first name, email only, birthday, preferences, things like that. That's generally the order. Definitely offer is going to be first, and then the rest of these are just going to be different. This is what I would split test. That's the order of what I would split test. All right, so setting up the A/B test. Basically what you do is in Klaviyo, you select sign-up forms here, then you actually select your correct sign-up form, go to create A/B test, and then you want to name it something that you're going to remember what you're actually split testing, and then change whatever you want to change with your pop-up. Go to test settings in the top right, and then you're going to want to automatically end the test when statistical significance is achieved. That's what I'd recommend. Or you can set a date limit if you'd like, and then you just simply hit publish. That's the structure for a pop-up. It's going to be very, very similar when you're doing a flow or a campaign. All right, with email flows, pretty much exactly the same process. There's actually two ways to split test email flows. Number one is going to be a conditional split, which is a little bit different than what I did previously, and split testing the actual content of the emails. That's pretty much exactly that same process, so I'm not going to go through it twice. But using a conditional split is a little bit different. Normally, this is just for split testing the time delay of the first email. So things like the abandoned checkout, abandoned cart, browse abandonment, and site abandonment, especially these abandonment flows, you're going to want to put in conditional splits. So in this case, you're split testing 30 minutes versus 2 hours. And these actual emails are exactly the same. And so over time, you can see open rate, click rate, and placed order rate is going to be directly comparable between the two. So in this case, open rate 40%, click rate 3.9%, and placed order rate is 2.9% with a 30-minute delay. And you can see the metrics for 2 hours. And what happens in the end is, as I said before, sometimes like this on the right here has a worse click rate, but has better click rate, but the placed order rate is lower. So at the end of the day, you care about revenue. So in this case, we'd want to choose email 1A. And then split testing the actual content of the emails, that's a different split test. So if you want the exact same email like this, but you want to split test the content, you would just simply create an A/B test and go through that exact same process as we did before. Choose your winning metric, go through that whole process. All right, email campaigns, very simple process. Again, you just create the email campaign. You're going to go to there's recipients is the first screen, and then content is the second screen, and you just go to create A/B test here. And then you're going to choose whether you're testing the content or the send time. And then you simply just make the changes to version A and then version B. And then you choose your winning metric. So that's going to be open rate, click rate, or placed order rate right here. And then essentially what you're doing is you're choosing the test size if you want to have essentially a holdout group. So what this is if you choose 100%, it's going to send 50-50 right off the bat. So 50% of the people are going to get A, 50% of the people are going to get B. For the most of the time, that's what I would recommend. Just make it super simple. However, what you can do is you can choose 40%. And so that's going to be like your test size. So that means that as soon as you click send, 40% of people are going to get either variant A or variant B. So that means 20% goes to A, 20% goes to B, and the 60%, those people don't get emailed for a couple hours. So that's why the test duration, that's 6 hours there. So in this case, 20% of people get A, 20% of people get B. It's gonna find the winner, and then after 6 hours, it'll then send that email, the winning email, to the rest of the people. So the rest of the 60% of people get that email. And that's how you do it. All right, that was the video. If you're running a direct-to-consumer e-commerce brand doing 6 or 7 figures per month and you want to add 50 to 200K to your monthly revenue in the next 90 days, or we give you a refund, you have two options. You can either go to our website, zhs-ecom.com, and book a call, or you can send an email to my email address right here, and I'll personally read your response. Thanks for checking out the video. Hope you have an awesome rest of your day.